So yeah, tonight, as I said, really informal. I usually start with the question, and this is really easy because you're brothers. Was there a mother or father that was an entrepreneur? That's usually my first one. Or was there a moment where you remember selling baseball cards or like early day entrepreneur stuff?
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like the word entrepreneur, I don't know if they really classified it as entrepreneur back then, but certainly our parents are definitely very much like that. They ran a musical instrument retail store and imported musical instruments for a majority of our childhood, and so did their parents, so did our mum's parents. So we definitely grew up in that atmosphere of the small business hustle. And I think that's probably contributed a lot to our attitude towards work.
Yeah. And did you have to go to work at the music shop?
Oh yeah.
I've seen that.
Packing boxes, unloading containers, all sorts of
Anything
shit.
they didn't want to do.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of our childhood was definitely pick up from school, go to the music shop, stay there until they were ready to go home at 6 or 7 o'clock, and then...
How early was this?
This is like primary school, I guess,
Yeah.
like always around that kind of, always seeing them work super hard for that, and then they moved into wholesale and importing musical instruments. And we're definitely straight out of school, I went and worked there for a few years. I think Anthony did as well.
Did a couple of years while I was at uni as well, working there. I think it's probably...
Sorry.
That
one goes to the camera and that one goes to the audience.
Got it,
Sorry,
yeah.
double mic.
It's probably where I guess a lot of the work ethic was instilled. Mum and dad, always working pretty hard, and also the sense of being able to work with your family. It was always a bit weird growing up, but then it wasn't that weird, but often dinner table conversations, like our older brother worked in the family business. It was always just always around business essentially, and working together, which is probably where we got a sense of being able to actually not kill each other, working together. It's worked so far.
That makes sense.
That was actually one of the prep questions from your PR firm. It was like, how do you work together as brothers? So my first business with my brother, same thing. We almost killed each other though.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a learning curve around, not telling each other to fuck off.
Yeah.
And like, this is a working relationship now and not brother stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we get it heaps. We get that question a lot. How do you guys work together as brothers? And I don't know, just kind of, it's never really been, it's like, we kind of see it as an advantage because we can say things to each other that you wouldn't normally say to a colleague. We can get pretty heated at each other and just be really real with each other, and just, whereas, you might kind of take the long way around with a colleague in other ways, and we've had to really teach ourselves to not talk like brothers or bicker in front of the team. Like in a meeting, we're just like, that's just how we communicate. We just kind of, we're yelling at each other or something.
You think you're yelling at each other, but you're actually, that's how you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Radical candor.
Yeah.
That's the term now.
Yeah.
That's we're gonna use that one.
And then just, so how did you not end up in some sort of retail, wholesale business, something with inventory, or was it something that were you just like obvious where we like the digital side, or how did it kind of evolve?
Probably because we actually did spend time in it and realised we didn't want to. I think growing up in, I guess, more of the digital age and seeing, having a bit more of a passion for doing more of that kind of work. And just like, I guess we'll get into it a little bit more, but where we started in terms of running a digital agency for music was kind of definitely working with that other side of the music industry, which is the actual entertainment and working with artists and festivals and that kind of thing, more so than importing musical instruments and the actual business side of the instrumentation.
So so we'll go back a little bit before. So what was the education? What did you do? What did you study at school?
I took a year off, worked, and then I did entrepreneurship at RMIT.
My brother did the same course.
It was a good course. I think I did it when it was in its second or third year when it just started out, and was working in the family business while I was doing that, and then worked in family business a couple of years after that. Then I moved to Sydney to work at the Sound Alliance, which is now Junkie Media, and that was sort of in music media, selling advertising, essentially, digital media, digital marketing. Did that for a couple of years, and then decided never want to work for anyone else again. Not because of them, they're great, but just didn't want to do it, and started managing bands and doing digital marketing as like a freelancer. So I had started doing my own business and that. And this guy didn't even bother finishing uni and was doing his own thing in Melbourne too. And that's when we decided to link up and start running a management business together.
It's kind of like that Stanford dropout story.
Yeah.
Only it's like one
Hope not.
and then you just kind of had a passion for music too, but wanted to be on the digital side, or you just...
Yeah. I mean, so I started entrepreneurship as well, and I think the course had changed a lot by the time I started. Became a lot more theoretical.
What's the age difference?
Damn it.
Yeah.
6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get that a lot as well.
You're the younger brother.
Yeah.
So was it mum said no choice, but you had to have...
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Felt sorry for him.
Even the fact that people have to ask which one's younger, I'm like, all the time.
That's okay.
Yeah, it just was a lot more theoretical, and it was just not my vibe. So I got out of there after one semester. Much to our parents' dismay, I had to promise Dad I'd go back, which I think he's cool with now. Not going back. Hopefully. I haven't really asked him. But yeah, then I went into work with the family business, figured I'd learn a lot more just doing that and actually doing it ourselves than kind of in that environment. And I started running parties and club nights on the weekend, and then started managing DJs. Realised Anthony was managing DJs, and that's when we kind of started working together the most and started managing. He was managing bands, I was managing DJs, and we started managing them all together.
So tell me how that kind of came about. Was it just...
I think we're kind of just helping each other out anyway, just with things that I might have been better at and things that he might have been better at just with each of our acts, and we kind of just said, why don't we just put this together and make it a management firm. That's where Bolster started, just kind of doing that, and meanwhile Anthony was working freelancing in digital media buying.
So you just hang around clubs a lot and just be like, look, you probably need a manager, bro.
Pretty much. There was one particular club night I was running, there was these DJs that I just kept pulling this huge crowd every time I booked them.
Yeah.
And they were blowing up in kind of like blog world when blogs were huge for music. And just started managing them, looking after them, and then they did really well around Europe. So that was kind of my next year or so. Spent a lot of time doing that.
You helped getting the gigs in Europe.
Yeah, I mean they did multiple.
We're gonna get on the tech stuff.
Yeah. They did heaps of like sold out tours around Europe, which at the time I was like, oh cool, just gonna go tour Europe. Just seemed kind of normal. Now I realise working with artists still is kind of like selling out on your first trip to Europe is not the normal thing. So they were doing really well then.
What was the name?
Trunk Disco, they were called. Yeah.
Then obviously, just from what I've seen from your sites and stuff, very creative. So you guys designers as well? Is it they're on the team or?
We're not. But we have a lovely other co-founder that didn't make it up on the stage. He's here in the audience tonight. He's the design creative.
It looks great.
Yeah. Look at his outfit.
He has no recognition.
Yeah. Winklevoss.
Winklevoss. Yeah, they've been telling me they're going to get a new photo for the whole time, but they just didn't do it. Poor guy didn't get in the photo. So moving forward, so then you started getting some interesting clients as an agency as well, right? On the design side.
Yeah. So the freelance thing started picking up more and more, and it wasn't just freelance anymore. Started doing digital marketing for some of the biggest festivals in the country, like Laneway Festival and Splendor in the Grass and Future Music Festival, which isn't around anymore. And it was kind of offering realised there was this niche there that nobody was a digital specialist for the music industry. It was really fragmented. It was media buyers charged a ridiculous amount of money just to do a very simple job. Social was becoming where you would advertise records and gigs and festivals, and things like remarketing. No one knew what the hell that was 5 or 6 years ago in the music world. And in music you don't really own the whole ticket flow. It goes off to a Ticketmaster or Moshchicks or Oztix, and so that whole purchase funnel, promoter doesn't own that. There's a whole different way to it. So just linking all that up, which we found really easy to do, was sort of blew people's minds a little bit. And so we're like, shit, I think this is a business. We'll call it an agency, and we'll go and be this digital marketing specialist for the music industry.
And was that kind of like, obviously that would have been helping artists make more money, right?
Helping artists make more money, helping festivals sell tickets for less than they were doing it for. And it went from there. That grew really quickly, from like just us two to about 17 people in the first year and a half.
Wow.
And yeah, it's good.
So can you start going through some of the the scaling of the agency will get. I can kind of see how the Linktree will fall in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so, as you got startups here trying to grow their companies and they're scaling, what were some of the things that you did well and you didn't do well?
Probably not hiring quick enough. Didn't do well. Did well was I think there's the level of service I think we had, and we kind of had cornered the market a little bit, and just delivered over delivered. Probably that, you know, if we tried to do that now, I think we'd probably burn out, and you know, the whole mental health thing would not be cool. But we definitely I think we just put everything into it at that time.
Well, I imagine you're probably working 18 hours a day before you figured, shit, we need someone else.
Yeah, and as you probably realise in this duo, I'm a little bit of the glass half empty, rein it in, and he's the one that's like, nah, fuck it, we'll take over the world, and just got to pull him back.
Yeah, that's good.
But it kind of works as a bit of a yin and yang. But he was like, we need to hire somebody, we've got too much work. I'm like, yeah, maybe some part-time, I don't know if we can afford it. He's like, no, dickhead, we need to fucking hire somebody because like we can't do this work. I'm like, all right. And then as soon as that person started, we had like 2 more job ads up, and it kind of just went from there.
So what is your? I'm just interested in like what your take is on the right time to hire, or like to hire again while managing. Was it just you got enough work, you know, or are you taking the gamble that the employees? I'm just interested how different people do it, or you're taking the gamble on. I hire these 2 people on sales, and they're going to surely they'll get enough business in that we can keep going. How do you?
I think yesterday's the answer. In terms of if you find the right people, or you have a pipeline to be able to find the right people. The way it happened with Bolster was just we were fortunate that I guess with the agent we were doing such a good job that we still at 4 years on, 4 and a bit years on, we still haven't called anyone. It was a really relationship driven agency where we do a good job, and it'll be a lot of word of mouth, and we'll continuously kind of get both inbounds and people just referring us, but also just through relationship type selling. So a lot of the sales just kind of happen ourselves. We never really had to go, okay, we're going to have to hire a sales team to try and get people, to try and get jobs in, to then hire the rest of the team's going to execute it. But we were getting work in faster than we could hire people. So that decision for us was easy enough. There was so much work all the time. We were working crazy hours. We just had to keep trying to find the right people, which was always relatively difficult. But we've worked out a much better process and pipeline now. Worked out ways to make sure we're always kind of aware of people that are going to be good fit for the role. But back then that was much harder.
So what does that look like? Is that you guys sitting down and discussing what you wanted the culture to be? How does that look now that you've kind of optimized it, I suppose?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, now it's. I think now the culture's very much solidified. Certainly across Bolster, we've got a written handbook that the whole team we try to instill values in, and everyone kind of reads. And it's definitely a really big part of our recruitment tool that people. When we interview them, they're like, I read that handbook, that's why I want to work here. So it's a really big part of it. And it's just definitely something we try to get everyone, and we try to live by every day. Obviously, as we scale, that becomes a lot harder to really be able to nail. And then, we hired a talent acquisition manager lately. It was just probably the one mistake we talk about. Probably should have hired that much earlier. Because the amount of time we used to spend actually trying to do that hiring process was difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that guidebook also become that's an absolute no for us because of even if they're super talented on one area? Is that where you'll kind of cut them off because they don't fit the values? We just try and mold them in.
Yeah, it's almost like you see something there, because not everyone's perfect, everyone's going to fit the mold. If everyone fit the mold immediately, you just have a bunch of clones, and it doesn't make for a really good workplace and environment. So I guess it's like having elements of things that we want, and I think one big thing is people that are coachable, depending on whatever their level is. Can they teach us stuff as well, because we're still learning as we go. So yeah, that's just a good kind of, I guess, guiding light, Northern Star type thing. We try and look for some of those principles in people. Cool.
So moving kind of forward to Linktree, so I'm going to guess it's one of the client just had this need, or how did the problem arise, and then you get to making that product?
Go on. You've got the
so
mic.
we had the agency going, and it started as a bit of a side thing because we're also managing artists and had clients have this need where we're updating social media profiles all the time, managing socials, running campaigns, and as you do with socials, like a lot of content all the time, artists updating stuff all the time. Look at my video, look at my blog, download this, look at my tour dates, events are the same. And so
You were handling that for the artists as well.
for artists and and so it became this thing of like changing your bio 2 or 3 times a day to direct to new content. It became pretty fucking annoying. So it was like, surely there's a way that this could be better. And as Alex sort of went to our developer, I was like, can we, if we just have a link that then just shows another bunch of links, and then just directs where all the stuff have to go, and you never have to change that other link, just stays there, and that's it. And it's like, yeah, I reckon. So kind of we built it from there, and the next day had a prototype and started showing it to our clients, started using it for them, and actually validated it, just using it for ourselves within the agency. Kind of then just started going from there. We just kind of kept working on it, tweaking it on the side of the agency, essentially, while we were doing that, and kept testing with different client groups.
And was it just the reaction that people were like, this is great, where you thought, let's spin it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a bit, didn't it?
It took a little while. I mean, obviously, we started giving it to, obviously, used it with our management clients, but also our festival clients. So early days, like Splendor in the Grass and those kind of clients that obviously will get quite a bit of traffic on their profiles. So it started to spread a little bit from there. And actually, obviously, once it's in your profile, people are going to see it. And it's a bit of a self-marketing tool, which we're super fortunate with. And it's a decision we made there. So it was, sitting 5 to 10 sign-ups a day kind of thing that people were starting to just discover it themselves. And I think once we realised people were discovering it themselves and just using it without us giving it to them to use, and noticing user group, like obviously we built it and designed it with music in mind and artists in mind, not understanding that kind of that world, and starting to see other user groups start to use it and other different types of use cases is when we started really realising it was a product there.
So internally just for your clients, then at some point you just set up Linktree, it's link.tr.ee, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that was from the start. Our developer was like, I think I can do that, and did it in about, there was a really quick kind of basic wireframe design, and he built it in about 6 hours or so. Showed it to us, I was like, this is what you're thinking? I was like, kind of nailed it. It's like roughly there. We then went to work in designing, and Nick did all the work around design. I'm going to keep pointing to Nick because he's not in any of our photos and he's not here.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah. He was obviously the creative brains behind it in terms of and not formally trained in UX or UI. He's an amazing communication designer and graphic designer, but he just had a crack at building the UI and designing that. And we played around with the brand name for probably a day or so. I don't think it was very long. It was going to be called InstaBio, which we're so glad we didn't do because that was terrible.
Instacart.
Yeah. And so we gammoned Linktree and went with that. So that was before we put it up. So it was always called Linktree.
And then when was like this aha moment where you go, shit, no one else has got this? And then I guess this evolution where you go, we've got a lot of traffic going through this. Can we connect, Facebook Pixel? Can you just go through how it's evolved?
Yeah. So then it was 5, 10 signups a day. And we kept kind of just adding little features. You basically could only choose from 4 themes. We didn't have any custom branding or anything like that. So it was kind of just people were using it, like I said, for things outside of music, and kept kind of ramping up from there. And I think, then we said, okay, I think, this is actually something people are using it. It was only free, and we only built it to solve our own problem. And we're happy to continue doing that, just like solve our own problem, solve others' problem as a free product that fit into the kind of world we were already in, and it was just useful. So we decided to build it in a lot more than 6 hours, spend a few more weeks on it, and actually rebuild the entire thing from scratch to make it more stable. Added in there, we added a bunch more features around customization and just the way the UI worked. And then our plan was to keep building, add some more features and be ready, and then put it on something like Product Hunt. But someone else had that idea for us, and someone over in the States put it up on Product Hunt the night before our sister's wedding. at like 2 a.m. I was in the bridal party. It was not good timing. And it kind of went pretty wild. It was like heaps of comments. We kind of had to get up, not get our beauty sleep before the wedding, and commenting and being, it was full on, but it was super exciting. I mean, Product Hunt's one of those websites I check daily. I was always was so excited to have some kind of product to put on there. So for it to be on there, I think it got number 2 or 3 product of the day, somewhere around there, and it got heaps of upvotes, and people were just like, this is great. This is like, I never realized this problem existed, and you've done it so simply, or like, I really love using this. So we started to realize that people not in our network actually found it useful. So, and yeah, that was when that was kind of the first Pinterest moment. Then it was about a week after that, we had in Slack, we had a Slack channel for users just that would sign up, and every single time someone signed up, we would get an alert, and we'd check that, and it'd just be really exciting watching people, 10, 20, 30 sign-ups a day. And then that went to about 1,000 a day when it went on Product Hunt for a couple of days, and it dropped back down to around 100 or 200. And then we saw Alicia Keys come up in the users that came through, and we're like, that can't be real. That's not that must be a fan page or something like that. And we clicked in and we're like, oh, whoa, it's real. And we looked at the email address, and there's an official email address. We're like, yeah, it's like we're all dancing around the office. We were in a co-working space at the time, and people were just like, what are you doing? And kind of, it's definitely, that was probably the big Pinterest moment, going, okay, given we kind of made this for musicians, and this is like one of the world's biggest artists, validating that this is a tool that's useful. And it kind of, that's where it started. It probably didn't drop below 1,500 to 2,000 signups a day from there.
Wow. So, and then on that, right, and because I know that from the the landing page, Alicia Keys right there, did you reach out to her? I know like Canva obviously saw Guy Kawasaki using the product and reached out, and then asked him to be the evangelist.
Yeah.
Did you reach out to Alicia Keys and just say, hey, how do you find the product?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were wondering whether it was her management or an agency or something like that, and so we reached out and asked, and we hadn't really heard back for a little bit, but eventually it turned out it was a digital marketing agency attached to her label that signed up, figured they would have the rest of the roster. So we reached out and offered to do custom themes for Alicia Keys, and we'll do custom themes for the rest of your roster if you sign them up, and then along came. So their roster was Red Hot Chili Peppers, Eminem, The Killers, Pearl Jam, Tupac.
Universal?
Yeah. So signed up all of them, and they became other big artists that we started working with, and it kind of flowed on from there, obviously, for music.
Doesn't get much bigger.
No, well,
Backstreet Boys signed up today.
Backstreet Boys signed up today. We're pretty excited about that. There was there was some solid puns flying around. Really could tell in the team who grew up in the 90s. But I mean, since then there's been Metallica in music, but we're so focused now as well on all the other verticals. There's about when you sign up, you can either select from a bunch of verticals, or you can put your own in, and there's 310 unique verticals that people have put in now. So in terms of, we've got chefs, so chefs Jamie Oliver and Ottolenghi, through to publishers, so Guardian and the whole Vice network, heaps of publishers across the world, which is super exciting. And again, that was a use case that we never saw coming.
Yeah.
And that's something we're really focusing on, building out a feature set for that kind of use case. What else? We've got brands, all of Red Bull, 200 accounts across the world, Qantas, Expedia, L'Oreal, and they kind of keep coming. So every day has become a bit of a Pinterest moment. We still don't take it for granted. These amazing people and brands keep wanting to use the product.
Well, and I'm mindful there's probably some good questions up there. Was there some really, really cool stories that came back to you that you're super proud of, that people using Linktree? Like maybe making a living as an artist now, thanks to you or whatever?
There's a bunch, I was about to say, so cool as all these really big users, but of all the 3.5 million users, the biggest, most proportion of that is your kind of small business, your side hustler, a craft maker, a writer, whoever it is. They're using it to run their business and power their business, and they're so passionate because it's their daily life. Sometimes their livelihood, sometimes their side business. They're trying to get something on the side going. So the customer support with them is completely different to what it is to an agency running it. And whenever there might be any kind of issue, they're the kind of users that are like freaking out, because then you've had some of those moments of like, oh, this little thing's not really working, this is costing me money. It's like, well, it's not, you just haven't got this thing right. But anyway, like they get really passionate about it. So there's probably, you can probably talk some more of the stats behind the scenes on what the people are converting to. But we did a partnership recently with Amazon influencers, and the Amazon influencers network has,
So does Amazon reach out to you in that occasion?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
It's great. It's really cool. Yeah,
That's good.
But people that are making their living off their Amazon stores, they're building their profiles throughout social and using Linktree to drive people to the Amazon stores. So that's how those people are making a living, and Linktree is part of their ecosystem.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then was there any issues with the from going from 10 users a day to thousands, or is that just an AWS credits thing, or
I didn't know AWS credits existed, so that was a huge mistake. I found out about that recently. I was like, damn it, that would have been helpful. No, there were plenty of problems, we certainly have learned a lot about scale and DevOps and infrastructure.
Please can you tell us?
I wish I had a CTO here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been plenty of problems along the way, and our team now is incredible, and they've worked out how to deal with. So there's about 110 million uniques a month, about 400,000 logins a day. So in terms of utilising the admin and the pressure on the database from that, and then the sheer traffic volumes and clicks in the kind of analytics tracking side of things that we're utilising now as well. So. But to get to that point, it was, like we said, we built this to solve our own problem. It was not built to handle that much traffic. So a lot of the last 6 months or year since we've had this really talented team now has been migrating the platform over to much more modern infrastructure than what it was initially built for, which has helped a lot. And but we've certainly had moments where we've been completely sleepless nights when we've been down for 10 or 20 minutes and just the sheer anxiety when that's happening, and you're kind of sitting there like, is it done yet? Is it fixed yet? And learn how to deal with that, and learn how to deal with developers and not upset them or annoy them. Just let them do their thing. But yeah, it's certainly, in terms of learnings, like coming out of that, how to build for scale to start with, like build thinking that at least you're gonna. That could happen, and then you're going to have to be able to grow from there. Don't back yourself into a corner with so much tech debt that you now need to refactor a whole app. And certainly from a customer support point of view, with us, I remember, Nick and I constantly this doesn't happen anymore. But in the first year or a couple of years, if it would go down, and you've got Alicia Keys and these kind of artists using it, if they're about to put an album out or something, or they're relying on this product, people are relying on this product day in, day out to actually run their businesses and to run their releases or their product. And we've got a responsibility to make sure that actually works. So put a lot of effort in there, but in terms of when it does go down, the customer support, or do we put something on socials, or do we not? Do we just hide it? Do we be outward about it and just kind of really learn in the procedure around what we should and shouldn't do or say?
Stackler, this is a fun one. Stackler is suing Facebook. Unlock shut down after Google sued. Are you concerning your reliance on Instagram? It's a good question. You don't have to answer it because it's some asshole. Who's they are?
Show your hand.
That's all right. Oh, my friend there, great.
Thank you for the question.
It is a question, but can I add to that to say, I can see some obvious ways you're going to evolve. Maybe it's some sort of e-commerce play or whatever, where this would not so much be a risk. I imagine,
Yeah, you're right, and it's not a risk now. Certainly, yes, it was built as a link in bio tool or a tool for Instagram, but right now it adds value to users across multiple platforms. About 40% of our traffic doesn't come from Instagram. People are using their links on LinkedIn and Twitch and on their resumes and on business cards and in Twitter and Facebook. And it's designed and built as a URL that allows you to just connect the audience to your entire online ecosystem, and that's where we're really aiming. So
not just LinkedIn, not just Instagram.
Not just Instagram.
Yeah.
So, and that's, I mean, we were getting asked all the time when it was still very much, in the first couple of years marketed as an Instagram product. We get asked every day, like, can I use this on my Twitter? Can I use this? And so of course, it's just a URL. You can put it wherever you want. But now it's very much the onboarding process, and the marketing is around helping people understand that you can use this wherever. But it was really driven by users. Users would go, we would see them, Gary Vee, for example, only uses it on Twitter. And he uses it on Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat. It's not his Instagram bio too. He uses it as a way to drive people to his podcast. So it's a tool that just allows you to really join what is now a really fragmented marketplace and internet, where you've got profiles on so many different platforms, and you might be making a post that you need to drive to 3 or 4 different places. It allows you to really make sure you've got all your links in one place that are recent and relevant, that you can put on across all your platforms. Yeah.
So this was a question I was going to ask. Also, it came from your PR team. You've got a bunch of these kind of copycats popping up. How do you stay ahead of that, and then I guess stay focused on growth versus the products, the feature set that everyone must be just hammering, knocking down the door on?
It's a good question. It's kind of a good validation in a way that there's other products that are doing similar things. There's been a few funny moments like that along the way where, there's been probably a couple of instances where there's been complete rip-offs, like actually just the exact same design, right down to the point of T's and C's still having our address and our ABN and everything, their privacy policy, and it's like okay, well, kind of funny. But there's others that do really, really good stuff. But I think, we were first to market and still have a majority of the market share. And there's some other ones out there that are still validated, not what is it, something like 1 billion active users on Instagram a month, not to mention all the other social platforms, and 50% of people use Twitter every month on the internet. So there's a lot of tools for all of the platforms and products out there, so I don't expect to be the only one, but we stay focused on what we've always set out to do and keep it very conversion driven and very focused on that. It's all about getting to the end point and removing that friction. We had a lot of requests along the way to, have the grid on our thing, so it looks like your feed. It's like, what's the point of that? This is not what it was about. Just having a grid up there. So,
and a few people are doing that already.
Yeah, and people are doing that and do it well, and that's great. So ours is all about removing that friction, getting to people where they need to go, and we're focusing on that and adding features that still in line with it, while also maintaining that really, really clean design. And Nick's been very headstrong on that, on the branding and why we keep things a certain way and keep it looking as simple and clean as possible. And we've had some commentary from other people over the past 6 months that sort of said, I always know when I'm on a Linktree, and I know if I know I'm trusted, because I know what it is and where I'm going. And it took a while to get that, where, in the early days, people didn't know what this thing was in bio links, where it's like, no, should I click on this? I don't know. Now it's become a bit of a trusted brand. You know what you're clicking on,
right?
Which is really cool.
Yeah, I was add to that. Yeah, that was super interesting. With, we would get, in those early days, we would get requests for the feature of custom domains all the time, so people could put their own domain or their own URL all the time, and that is rarely the case now. We hear from people all the time that are signing up to Linktree to have a Linktree because it is a trusted brand and a trusted link in their profile, which is something we're always really aiming for. And even when coming from a product and design point of view, making sure that a Linktree always looks like a Linktree, and it doesn't matter where you land on a Linktree from, it's a trusted place, and you're safe, you know what it is.
Well, you're lucky you stuck to your guns on that, otherwise you kind of diluted your own brand.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's been embed ideas and all kinds of stuff, and Nick was always just like, we don't want to look like a MySpace, we don't want to just have embeds everywhere, which he definitely stuck his guns on. And we've had commentary from major VCs in Silicon Valley saying that this is a brand that people trust, and that's why it's so interesting. Which is credit to Nico. Well done,
Nico. And good segue actually. So, you got over 3 million users now. You've got the $6, the premium kind of thing. Must be a lot of money coming in the door. And the question really is, the choice to stay bootstrapped, obviously the control thing is definitely, it must be, a strong reason for your success and maybe why you want to, but there must be people knocking on the door trying to invest and want to take you everywhere and Silicon Valley, private jets and whatever.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
There's a lot knocking on the door, which is exciting and humbling. And it wasn't necessarily a conscious decision to not get funding. We, as founder, had a skill for design. We did what we could. To be honest, we didn't really know that much around the funding world or VC world. We just didn't really realize it was an option. Probably comes from being around our parents, small business. You just do the things. Small business mentality, just do everything yourself. So we just kind of did it. We know a lot more about that world now. We're speaking to a lot of them, and we welcome the conversations and always learn so much from them. And we're not closed off to the idea of funding. We'll kind of see where that goes, I guess.
Let me take a couple of these. You build the product overnight. What's your advice for creating an MVP? What's your advice about creating an MVP?
What do you reckon? What are we good about this?
Done's better than perfect.
Yeah.
Just get it done, get it out there, prove that it's a product. I speak to people now, it's like they're quitting a job or not taking another job because they want to go build this thing. And my advice is always like, do it as a side hustle first and prove that it's a business. Get some kind of part of the product out there and just like pretty much everything we built into the product was like feedback from people and from users, explaining, and both feedback on them telling what they wanted, but also us seeing how people use in the product and how we could design for that and how we could build on that. And there's so many things we've done that we would never have imagined doing before we built the thing to start with. So just as cheap and simple as possible and just get something out there is I know it's easier. It's harder, easier said than done, but that would be the advice, I'd say.
The point about side hustle is another question that I have for you guys on. Obviously, you still got the agency going. Is that just because you have a passion for the creative music side? Why was it a conscious choice not to just go, shit, LinkedIn's where it's at right now, let's just do this? Or are you still playing around with that? Or?
No, we pretty much have made that decision. So we've recently just split our roles out, and Alex is pretty much on Linktree full time. And I'm sort of leading the agency whilst still have a role on Linktree from a strategic and marketing and partnerships point of view. We've got a team of 40 odd in the agency, so things are running reasonably smoothly, but there's a lot of learnings there, so it allows us to focus on Linktree a bit more. But yeah, we made the conscious decision about 6 months ago where Alex is leading the drive on the product and the strategy for Linktree.
Was that because you said, look, I had all the vision, all the way along.
Little brother, let him have it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Coolest features you're most passionate about the users have requested? That's a good question. This from Bryce.
Coolest features that you're most passionate
that
about?
we've implemented?
Or about to, or whatever you can share.
Yeah. There's
yet.
heaps coming. Actually, there's a big feature release happening tonight. We're going to go home and work out the best way to market it. But yeah, certainly like the newsletter integration was a big one, and custom brand. It's super interesting with features actually. We can spend months and months designing and building this like incredible feature that we think is going to be amazing and it's going to be so great for marketers, and it's super complex in the way it's developed and what it goes into it, and users is just like, great, like might move the needle a tiny bit, and then we put out like a new background color, and it's like, yes, like people love it. So we've certainly changed our way of thinking in terms of the kind of things we really make a big deal out of and what we spend a lot of time building. But yeah, there's been heaps of really cool feature requests. I think a lot of it, like to start with, was around branding, customization, which we've built most of that out. You can now choose any color, background color, movie imagery, moving image, fonts, that kind of thing. I think a lot of it to start with was taking advice or taking ideas from users and kind of collating that and understanding, certainly as it was scaling, we understood a lot about what we wanted this product to be and what, being so conversion driven and how we're going to achieve that. And a lot of the features we were putting out, people loved and users loved, and we would always see big pro conversions from free to pro when we would put them out. Certainly,
is that just testing like 10,000 people at a time? How are you doing that?
We're doing that now. We did not have the capabilities of doing that early days, so it was kind of like, just put it out. And look, again, because we didn't build this as a paid product, we built this to solve a problem. The free version is still extremely good. Most people don't need the pro version. So we are constantly trying to really improve that pro to free value gap and make sure that there's more and more features being added to pro, but also not alienating the free users and making sure it's still a really great product for free users to use, because at the end of the day, they're our marketing tool. They're the people that are putting it, still another 3 million users that are putting it in their profiles and sharing it around the internet. That it's what allowed us to, we've never spent, until a couple of months ago, never spent $1 on marketing. It was completely organic growth.
I'll take one more question here. What's Linktree looking for now? What can help you most? It's a good one.
More developers.
Engineers. Anyone, come talk to us. Engineers, more team. So we're now building out, a lot of the team and growth has been around the engineering team, but now we're really focusing on growth, marketing, product management. We recently took on someone in the States. Obviously, it's a really huge market for us. Doing a lot of that work, like that you asked earlier, around recognizing big users signing up, reaching out to them, seeing what agency they're part of, trying to build that network and making sure that all users are using it to best practice. So it's trying to build out more of the actual customer success, support, partnerships, teams. So yeah, that's where we're going in terms of the product.
So California? Did you go to California? Or?
California, yeah. So there's one in LA at the moment. We're planning to build that. So we're team about 12 at the moment. We plan to be 25, 30 over the next year. So a lot of scaling to do and really capitalize on what we're trying to do. And we're just really excited to just, build the product towards being that one place that we can help people connect their entire internet.
Very cool. All right, I want everyone back on their feet. We'll wrap it up there. And a big thank you to Linktree for coming out tonight, guys.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.